Daredevils put their bodies in harm's way for our entertainment, for their adrenaline, and sometimes their well-made plans don't go so well. Hey guys, Trace here for D-News. This guy is Nik Wallenda. He's a daredevil for a living. His job is to walk the high wire, and he is actually pretty good at it. He's walked and ridden bikes between buildings, over stadiums, and across chasms, and he's hung from helicopters by its teeth, and in his most famous stunt, he crossed Niagara Falls on a steel wire. Now he's going to one-up himself by crossing the Grand Canyon live on the Discovery Channel, but what happens if he falls, other than, the obvious? Daredevils fail. It happens. Back in 9th century Iraq, Airman Furman, or perhaps his name was ABBAS IBN FIRNAS, the history's a little shaky, strapped a loose cloak over a light frame and jumped off a tall tower with it on his back. FIRNAS may have been running flight experiments hundreds of years before Da Vinci, or perhaps he just liked adrenaline rushes. We can't be sure really, but one thing we can be sure of is the accounts say that he landed really poorly, severely injuring his back. He did survive, but his critics claimed that he hadn't landed like a bird, pulling up to slow his descent. This was 1,000 years before the Wright brothers' flight experiments. The most famous daredevil in the world was a Montana man named Robert Craig Knievel. His most famous failure was jumping the fountains of Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas. His motorcycle took off perfectly, but the landing was short and he was thrown over the handlebars and across the pavement. He tumbled over and over. His pelvis and femur were crushed, and he had fractures to the hip, wrist, and both of his ankles. Doctors said he would never walk unassisted again, let alone ride a motorcycle. 5 months later, he jumped 15 Ford Mustangs in Arizona. Almost. He crashed on his landing. He fractured his leg and his foot. Evel Knievel failed many, many, many times. Nik Wallenda is no stranger to the dangers of the high wire. Carl Wallenda, Nik's grandfather, was 73 years old when he stepped onto a wire between two buildings in San Juan, Puerto Rico. He never reached the other side. Poor rigging caused him to fall to his death. The Wallenda family has been working in acrobatics and walking wire since 1780, and as a seventh generation of the great Wallendas, certainly Nik remembers his grandfather's fall, but he wasn't going to let it alone. In 2011, Nik and his mother, who also walks the high wire, set out to soothe this familial scar, walking the high wire between those same two buildings in San Juan from opposite ends at the same time. They met in the middle, where Nik stepped over his kneeling mother to finish the walk. This is crazy. What drives people to do this? Some say it's adrenaline, it's dopamine, it's that active, crazy, feel-good chemicals that flood the brain during times of stress or euphoria. But until we can strap an MRI scanner on their heads while they do their thing, we may have to make some educated guesses. Why do you think Daredevil humans do these insane stunts? Share your thoughts with us, and if you love Daredevils, do not miss Nik Wallenda's newest craziness. Live on the Discovery Channel, Nik Wallenda is gonna cross the Grand Canyon on a steel cable. Yeah, I am nervous already. Watch it live on Sunday, June 23rd, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific, and keep coming back for more D-News, guys. Thanks a lot.